Here's the problem. The government cannot solve this housing crisis and the lack of inventory on its own. They need help from the private sector. We need help! You're never gonna believe what a report released by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation said about the government and its ability to deliver on what we need as Canadians for housing across the country. If you're worried or curious about the housing supply shortage that we have, this is definitely a video for you, because the biggest problem that we are gonna have is how do we encourage the private sector to get involved in helping the government build more homes. And I got a little secret for you as well. It's all about the money. What's good, everybody? It's Darren German from the German Group, where we know you've only got one chance to either buy or sell your next home. So we're here to help you get it right. Make sure to absolutely smash that subscribe button, because you're not gonna see videos like this or any of the other videos we release on a regular basis that are awesome for home buyers, home sellers, or generally homeowners if you don't subscribe. So hit it. How are we gonna add the estimated 3.5 million homes that we need in Canada by 2030? And if you're someone who is either planning on buying a home or has recently bought a home, make sure you hang around to the end of this video, because I've got some information you're not going to want to miss out on about how to get some free money back. Free money! Right, so we need homes. We need more homes in Surrey. We need more homes in Metro Vancouver. We need more homes all across the country to help with all the influx of immigration and population growth that we're experiencing in this country. It's a big problem, and one that's not easily solved. But for the first time since I can remember, we're actually starting to see all levels of government take this very seriously. Regardless of how seriously they're taking it, though, the challenge becomes the massive obstacle of the amount of homes needed right across this country, estimated at almost 3.5 million in the next 8 years. So one comes to wonder, how can we make these homes become available? And a recent report released by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation suggests that the government is not nearly going to come close to this if they do it on their own. They need help from the private sector. Of course, the problem with needing help from the private sector is there needs to be incentive involved, and that incentive is money. Building a house for a developer is not a charitable event. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are a developer and maybe you're considering building a high-rise tower in downtown Surrey. Now, think of today's environment and where we are in terms of what has happened is in the last 12 months alone. You are dealing with things like historically high inflation, which impacts things like the materials that you need to buy to help build these homes. Things like concrete, wood, electrical components, etc. And that doesn't even include all the finishing things like refrigerators and flooring and paint and crown molding and all that stuff. You've got borrowing costs absolutely skyrocketing since the start of the pandemic, and they're higher than they've been in the last 14 years right now. And this isn't to mention how expensive land has got. Because everything's become so expensive, people need to be paid more money or incentivized to go to work. So employment costs have gone up. Not only that, but you've got all of the red tape and the city and government expenses that go into building a home. In fact, we did a video on this not too long ago that would blow your mind if you knew the amount of money it costs to build a new home that goes directly to the government. I've linked the video below, but it was a report produced by CMHC and the Altus Group, and they said in metro areas like Metro Vancouver or Metro Toronto, they estimate about 8.5% of the cost of the home actually goes directly to the government. That was for a detached home. I don't see many detached homes going for $500,000 in Toronto or Vancouver. So let's say a new home costs maybe $2 million. Well, that's $160,000. They also estimated that $143 per square foot in Metro Vancouver is what goes to the government when building stratified properties. For you math whizzes out there, on a meager size 2-bedroom apartment that let's say is 850 square feet, that's over $120,000 that goes to the government just to provide that new home to somebody to buy or rent. So there's lots of red tape, you get my point. There's also costs of marketing the property, there's costs of having the real estate sold by professionals, and there's legal costs involved with drafting up contracts, reviewing disclosure statements, and getting buyers eventually into the properties. Oh, and there's one more that I didn't mention, and that of course is profits. Profit. The developers don't do this for fun. It's not a hobby they do in their pastime. They don't just dabble in putting up a concrete high-rise on the weekends. This is serious business. It is a business. It is not a charity. And you think of the landscape of being a developer right now. You think of all of the risks that they take on when they make a home, and if the incentive is not there to make a decent profit, they're not going to build a home. So the question becomes, what can the government do to help incentivize more builders and developers to build more properties for Canadians? Well, the good news is there's lots that they can do. As an example, they can make money much cheaper to borrow than what the average person pays, because if money is cheaper to borrow, they've got more room for profit. They can also reduce fees if a certain development meets the requirements that's important to a city, like having a completely green building or having a building that's located very close to a major transit center so there's not more cars on the road blocking up the roadway. They could also sell city-owned property to developers who, let's say, are putting up rental units at a discounted price to incentivize the building to go up and help more people. Anybody meeting a green initiative could be well rewarded. And while we're talking about rewards, the government can also look at sharing some of the risk of being a developer and also probably sharing some of the reward. So we know that there is stuff that can be done, but I think the point and the takeaway is 3.5 million homes in the next 8 years is no joke. That's a lot of property that needs to be added. When you look at the immigration targets that the federal government has set, and probably is missing some very high numbers in those estimations of 500,000 roughly per year, because there was other people that come to Canada that weren't included in those numbers, that's a lot of new people coming here that need places to live. You've also got things like population growth, including a population that already is experiencing a housing shortage and doesn't have places to go. As I said at the start of this video, the great news is the government is more serious right now than I've ever seen them in my career in 15 years as a real estate professional about getting this right and making housing available and more affordable to people like you watching this video. And this is important because if nothing is done, we will see a generation for the first time of people who will never be homeowners because the price of owning real estate and the availability of it is just too expensive. So I'm curious what you think. What else could be done to incentivize private sector and more development happening to provide more homes for people like you living in Surrey or surrounding areas? Be sure to leave your comments below. And while you're down there in the description area, I did promise something great for you if you are looking to either buy a home or maybe you recently bought. And that is 7 colossal tax breaks that are available to you right now. There is no point in leaving this free money on the table if you're someone looking to buy or have bought a home and you want to take advantage of it because it's not going to be there for forever. And it's linked right below for your convenience. Lastly, if you're unsure about the buying process or the selling process and you live in my local marketplace of Surrey and White Rock, BC, there is an option in the description below where you can get access to my calendar, book a time to speak directly with me, and we can help provide you with whatever advice you need to help your situation to make sure you prosper when it comes to either buying or selling real estate. Hey, look, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for subscribing, and I'll definitely look forward to seeing you on the next video. I'm Darren German from the German Group. You only have one chance to either buy or sell your next home, so we're here to help you get it right. Thanks for watching.